The U.S. Valiant hung silent in the darkness of the Arcturus system, its stealth systems masking any trace of the warship's presence. Through the bridge's observation window, Commander Sarah Chen watched the swirling orange gases of the nebula where her ship lay hidden. The massive vessel, Earth's newest Titan-class destroyer, represented humanity's most advanced achievement in military engineering. Today, it would face its first real test. Contact, Lieutenant James Rodriguez announced from his sensor station, his voice tight with tension. Multiple signatures emerging from FTL at the edge of the system. Configuration unknown. Chen straightened in her command chair, brown eyes narrowing as the tactical display lit up with dozens of incoming vessels. They moved with an unsettling organic grace, their hulls gleaming with a metallic purple sheen that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. The colony's sensors are picking them up too, Communications Officer Amara Patel reported. New Haven is initiating emergency protocols. Civilian shelters are being sealed. Chen nodded grimly. The mining colony of New Haven, with its population of 50,000 souls, represented humanity's farthest expansion into space. Now it would become the site of first contact with an alien civilization, and from all indications, these visitors hadn't come to make friends. Analysis. Chen asked her science officer. Dr. Yuki Tanaka leaned over her instruments, her cybernetic eye whirring as it processed data. Biomechanical construction, Commander. Their ships appear to be grown rather than built. Energy readings are off the charts, but there's something odd about their shield configurations. They're focusing primarily on deflecting kinetic and energy weapons. Because that's what they expect us to use, Chen murmured, a plan already forming. Status of the Gravitum Lance? Chief Engineer Marcus O'Reilly's Irish lilt carried a note of concern. The prototype's charged and ready, but we've never tested it in actual combat. The power requirements alone could burn out half our systems. Better than letting those things reach the colony. Chen opened a channel to the ship's combat eye. Area. Begin combat simulations. Factor in the enemy's shield configurations and calculate optimal firing solutions for the Graviton Lance. Processing, Commander. The AI's calm voice replied. Simulation complete. Warning. Standard targeting protocols will be ineffective against vessels of organic construction. Recommend modifications to weapon harmonics. Chen allowed herself a small smile. This was where humanity excelled. Adaptation. Improvisation. Finding solutions where none seemed to exist. Make the adjustments. All hands. Battle stations. We're about to introduce ourselves. The alien fleet moved with precision toward New Haven, their formation suggesting both military discipline and absolute confidence. They had likely conquered countless worlds this way, appearing suddenly with overwhelming force. But they had never encountered humanity before. Enemy vessels launching something, Rodriguez reported. Looks like boarding pods, thousands of them. They want slaves, Chen realized. Or test subjects. Not happening on my watch. Area, is the Graviton Lance ready? Affirmative. Harmonics adjusted to target biological components of enemy vessels. Caution. Weapon effect on organic technology is theoretical. Chen took a deep breath. That's what testing is for. All hands, braced for combat maneuvers. Lieutenant Rodriguez, plot us a course right through the center of their formation. Miss Patel, send one message to the colony. Stay in your shelters and enjoy the show. The Valiant's engines ignited, its massive form emerging from the nebula like a predator from its lair. The alien fleet reacted instantly, their ships turning with that disturbing fluid grace to face the threat. They're charging weapons, Rodriguez reported. Energy signatures unlike anything in our database. Let them come, Chen said quietly. We've got a surprise of our own. Area. Activate the Graviton Lance on my mark. Target their flagship. The alien vessels opened fire, streams of purple energy lancing through space. But the Valiant was already moving. Its advanced point defense systems and reinforced shields absorbing the assault. Shields at 82%, O'Reilly reported. Whatever they're firing, it's nasty stuff. Time to return the favor. Chen watched as they closed with the alien flagship. Area. Fire. The graviton lance activated, invisible waves of distorted space-time reaching out to embrace the alien vessel. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the biomechanical ship began to twist, its organic components fighting against the artificial ones as gravity itself turned into a weapon. The alien flagship shuddered, its purple hull rippling like water. Then, with a silent flash, it tore itself apart from the inside out. Silence fell across the Valiant's bridge as the enemy fleet froze in apparent shock. Chen allowed herself a grim smile. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe we've got their attention. Calculate firing solutions for all remaining targets. Let's show these visitors why they should have called ahead first. The battle that followed would become legend, not just in human space, but across the galaxy. One ship against an armada, using technology that turned the enemy's greatest strength, their biomechanical nature, into a fatal weakness. The Valiant danced through their formation, the graviton lance reaching out again and again to tear apart ship after ship. When it was over, the surviving alien vessels flowed into FTL, leaving behind a debris field of twisted organic metal and shattered dreams of easy conquest. But Chen knew this was only the beginning. Damage report, she ordered, watching the last enemy ship disappear. Shields at 40%. Graviton lance needs a complete cooldown, but we're intact, O'Reilly reported. Have to hand it to those alien bastards. They gave as good as they got. The colony is safe, Patel added. They're already calling it the miracle of New Haven. Chen shook her head. Not a miracle, just human ingenuity and the willingness to try something new. But we need to get word back to Earth immediately. Those ships will be back, and next time they'll be ready for us. She turned to her crew, seeing the same mix of pride and determination in their eyes that she felt. Today we showed them humanity won't be an easy conquest. Tomorrow we teach them why picking a fight with us was the biggest mistake they've ever made. Dr. Tanaka looked up from her station. Commander, I've analyzed the debris. These aliens, the Drachnids, based on the linguistic patterns in their transmissions, they're part of something bigger. A collective that's been expanding for centuries. We may have bloodied their nose, but we've also attracted the attention of an empire. Good, Chen replied, surprising her crew. Because they need to learn what happens when you threaten humanity. We've spent our entire history adapting, surviving, overcoming impossible odds. Now we'll show them exactly what we can do. She turned to the tactical display, already planning their next move. RIA, begin analysis of all combat data. I want improvements to the graviton lance within 24 hours. We're taking this fight to them. The U.S. Valiant sailed through the debris field of its first victory, its hull scared but unbowed. In the command chair, Sarah Chen allowed herself a moment of quiet pride. Humanity had faced its first major extraterrestrial threat and emerged victorious. But this was just the opening move in a game that would span the galaxy. The real war was about to begin. 3 months after the Battle of New Haven, the U.S. Valiant emerged from quantum space inside a Drachnid supply line. Its enhanced stealth systems rendering it invisible to the massive cargo ships that carried resources stripped from conquered worlds. Multiple targets confirmed, Lieutenant Rodriguez reported, his fingers dancing across the sensor controls. 6 cargo haulers, 2 escort vessels. They're running with minimal shields. They don't expect anyone this deep in their territory. Commander Chen studied the tactical display, noting how the Drachnid ships moved in perfect formation. They had learned much about their enemy since that first encounter. The Drachnid collective operated like a biological organism, each ship and crew member acting as part of a greater whole. It made them devastatingly efficient, but also predictable. Status of the quantum drive modifications, she asked, not taking her eyes off the display. Chief O'Reilly's voice carried both pride and concern. The new calculations are holding, Commander. Dr. Tanaka's improvements let us jump twice as far, with half the energy signature. But we're pushing the laws of physics here. Too many jumps too quickly could tear us apart, or scatter our atoms across 3 dimensions, Dr. Tanaka added cheerfully from her science station. But the probability is relatively low, probably. Chen allowed herself a small smile. Her crew had adapted quickly to their new role as interstellar guerrilla fighters. The Valiant's original mission of exploration had transformed into something else. They had become humanity's most effective weapon against an enemy that controlled thousands of worlds. ARIA, begin targeting sequence, Chen ordered. Calculate maximum damage with minimal power expenditure. We hit hard and fast, then we're gone before their reinforcements arrive. Calculating, the AI responded. Warning. Detecting quantum communication bursts between escort vessels. Enemy fleet protocols have been updated since our last encounter. Chen frowned. The Drachnids were learning, adapting their tactics. Each engagement became more dangerous as the enemy developed countermeasures against the Valiant's advantages. But humanity had spent millennia perfecting the art of asymmetric warfare. New targeting solution, she announced. Araya, plot a micro-jump between the escorts. Lieutenant Rodriguez, prepare to fire the graviton lance the moment we emerge. Ms. Patel, jam all frequencies except the one they're using for quantum communication. They'll be able to call for help, Patel warned. Counting on it, Chen replied. Doctor, how's our little surprise coming along? Dr. Tanaka's cybernetic eye glowed with satisfaction. The quantum virus is ready. The moment they transmit a distress signal, it'll piggyback on their communication network. Every ship that receives the warning will also receive a lovely gift that'll scramble their biomechanical systems for hours. The bridge crew worked with practiced efficiency, each member understanding their role in the complex dance of space combat. The Valiant had become more than just a ship. It was a symbol of humanity's refusal to submit to conquest. All stations ready, Rodriguez reported. Micro-jump plotted. Chen leaned forward in her command chair. Execute. The Valiant vanished, reappearing instantly between the 2 escort vessels. Before the Drachnid ships could react, the graviton lance fired twice in rapid succession. The organic components of their hulls twisted and shredded, their crews experiencing firsthand why the Valiant had earned the nickname Ghost Killer among Drachnid forces. Escorts neutralized, Rodriguez announced. Cargo ships are attempting to scatter. Not today, Chen said quietly. Araya, implement targeting pattern Delta. Let's show them why running isn't an option. The Valiant's secondary weapons opened up, precision strikes disabling the cargo ship's engines. Within minutes, the entire convoy had been reduced to drifting hulks in space. They got a distress signal out, Paddle reported with a grin. Along with our special delivery. Time to disappear, Chen ordered. Mr. O'Reilly, plot us a course through the quantum corridor. Let's be somewhere else before their reinforcements arrive. As the Valiant prepared to jump, Dr. Tanaka's instruments began chirping urgently. Commander, detecting something unusual in the cargo ship's holds. These readings, they're not just carrying resources. There are stasis pods aboard, thousands of them. Chen's expression hardened. Life signs. Confirmed. Multiple species. These aren't cargo ships. They're prison transports. The commander's decision took less than a second. Change of plans. ARIA. Begin emergency transport sequences. We're not leaving those prisoners for the Drachnids to recapture. Commander, O'Reilly cautioned, our life support systems aren't rated for that many additional passengers. Then we'll upgrade them, Chen replied firmly. Humanity spent too many centuries ignoring the suffering of others. Not anymore. Today we show the galaxy that we're not just fighting against the Drachnids. We're fighting for everyone they try to enslave. The next 2 hours were controlled chaos as the Valiant's crew worked to transfer thousands of stasis pods from the disabled convoy. Each pod contained a sentient being who had resisted Drachnid rule and paid the price. Now they would become living testimony to the changing tide of war. As the last pod was secured, long-range sensors detected incoming Drachnid warships. But the Valiant was already spooling up its quantum drive, preparing to vanish once again into the depths of space. Message incoming from the lead Drachnid vessel, Patil announced. Audio only. They're demanding we surrender. Chen laughed. Send them our standard reply. Patil transmitted a single image, an ancient human gesture of defiance that had become the Valiant's unofficial signature. Then the ship disappeared into quantum space, leaving behind another blow to Drachnid pride and power. In her command chair, Chen reviewed the day's accomplishments. Not only had they destroyed valuable enemy assets, but they had also rescued thousands of potential allies. Each mission seemed to raise the stakes, transforming what had begun as a desperate defense of human space into something larger. Dr. Tanaka, she called out, begin analyzing the stasis pod data. I want to know everything about our new guests. And Chief O'Reilly, yes, Commander. Get started on those life support upgrades. Something tells me this won't be the last rescue mission we undertake. The Valiant continued through quantum space, its hull now protecting not just humanity's hopes, but the lives of countless beings who had dared to resist the collective. The ghost ship that terrified the Drachnids had become something more, a symbol of hope for an entire galaxy. And this was only the beginning. The holographic display in the Valiant's conference room showed dozens of light points scattered across 3 spiral arms of the galaxy. Each point represented a successful strike against Drachnid forces, forming a constellation of defiance that grew larger every week. Commander Chen studied the map while her senior staff gathered around the table. Their rescue passengers had been safely delivered to a hidden human colony, but not before sharing valuable intelligence about Drachnid operations throughout the sector. Their empire is larger than we imagined, Dr. Tanaka reported, her cybernetic eye projecting additional data layers onto the map. But it's not as stable as they want everyone to believe. The collective maintains control through fear and overwhelming force. Remove those elements. She smiled. Well, we're already seeing the results. Lieutenant Rodriguez highlighted several new points on the map. These are confirmed attacks on Drachnid installations by other species. They're copying our tactics, hit-and-run strikes using modified civilian ships. Nothing as effective as the Graviton Lance, but they're causing damage. And more importantly, they're causing chaos, Chen added. The Drachnids can't maintain their biological synchronization across an empire this size. Every independent action by resistance forces forces them to adapt, to split their attention. The briefing was interrupted by an urgent call from the bridge. Commander, Officer Patel's voice carried barely contained excitement. We're receiving a transmission on an encrypted frequency. You need to see this. The holographic map was replaced by a new image, a being composed of shifting crystalline formations that caught and reflected light in mesmerizing patterns. The universal translator processed its musical language into human speech. U.S. Valiant, the crystal being announced, I am Administrator Xenix of the Luminarix Confederation. We have watched your actions against the Drachnid Collective with great interest. Perhaps it is time we combined our efforts. Chen exchanged looks with her senior staff. The Luminarix were legendary among the species they'd rescued, an ancient race that had managed to maintain independence from the Collective through advanced technology and careful neutrality. Until now. We're listening, Administrator, Chen replied carefully. The Drachnids' biological technology has always been their greatest advantage, Xenix continued. No conventional weapons could penetrate their adaptive defenses, but your Graviton Lance, it changes everything. We propose an exchange. Your weapon innovations for our quantum crystal technology. Together, we can turn the resistance into a true rebellion. O'Reilly leaned forward, his engineer's mind already racing with possibilities. Commander, their quantum crystal tech is decades ahead of ours. If we could integrate it with our systems, the Drachnids would never be able to track us. Tanaka finished. We could strike anywhere, anytime, without worrying about drive strain or power limitations. Chen considered the offer. Humanity had survived so far by keeping their technology secrets close, but this war had grown beyond just protecting Earth. The Drachnids had to be stopped, and that meant taking risks. Administrator, she decided, I believe this could be the beginning of a productive partnership, but we'll need more than technology. We need coordination, intelligence, supply lines. Zinix's crystalline form sparkled with what might have been amusement. Of course. You didn't think you were the only ones building a network, did you? The Luminarics remember when the galaxy was free. We've spent centuries preparing for the right moment and the right allies. Over the next few hours, the scope of the administrator's proposal became clear. The Luminarics had been secretly supporting resistance movements across Drachnid space, waiting for a catalyst to unite them. The Valiant's success had provided that catalyst. We're looking at a full-scale uprising, Rodriguez said, studying the intelligence reports Zinix had shared. Dozens of species, hundreds of worlds, all waiting for the signal. And we'll give it to them, Chen declared. But first, we need to prove it's possible to defeat the collective's main battle fleets, not just their patrol ships and convoys. Administrator, how quickly can we begin integrating our technologies? Our chief scientists are already en route to a secure location, Zinix replied. But I must warn you, the moment we begin, the Drachnids will know the Luminarics have chosen sides. Their response will be extreme. Chen smiled grimly. Good. Let them come with everything they have. It'll make targeting their command structure that much easier. She turned to her crew. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to transform from a single ghost ship into the backbone of an interstellar revolution. I need your best work and your brightest ideas. Already on it, Commander, O'Reilly said, his fingers flying over a datapad. These crystal configurations they're proposing, if we route them through the graviton lens's targeting array, we could hit multiple ships simultaneously, Tanaka finished, her cybernetic eye whirring as she ran calculations. The quantum resonance would cascade through their entire formation. As her crew dove into the technical challenges, Chen shared a knowing look with Administrator Zinix. They both understood what was really happening. Species that had been enemies or strangers were about to be united by a common cause. And humanity, the newcomers to galactic society, had somehow become the spark that lit the fire. One more thing, Administrator, Chen said. When this starts, when we trigger the uprising, I want the Valiant to hit their command world. Let them see exactly who's leading the charge. Zinix's crystalline form pulsed with approval. They called you primitives when your ship first appeared. Now they whisper stories about the ghost that stalks their fleets. Soon, they will learn a new word, revolution. The Valiant's conference room buzzed with energy as humans and aliens worked together, planning the biggest coordinated military action in galactic history. The ghost ship that had terrified the Drachnids was about to become something even more frightening. The tip of a spear aimed at the heart of their empire. The real war was finally beginning. The Valiant screamed through quantum space, its hybrid human Luminarics drive leaving trails of crystalline energy in its wake. Behind them, a Drachnid pursuit fleet followed, the largest ever assembled by the collective. 17 dreadnoughts, Rodriguez reported, his voice tight, plus support vessels. They're using some kind of new tracking system. We can't shake them. Commander Chen studied the tactical display, where the massive biomechanical ships appeared as angry red points of light. The Drachnids had finally done what she'd feared. They'd adapted their entire fleet specifically to hunt the Valiant. Status of the quantum crystal matrix, she asked. Chief O'Reilly's hands danced across his engineering console. The integration's holding, but these evasive maneuvers are putting enormous strain on the system. We've got maybe 2 more emergency jumps before something gives. They're trying to wear us down, Dr. Tanaka observed, her cybernetic eye analyzing the enemy formation. Force us to exhaust our resources before their main strike. Classic pack predator behavior. Chen allowed herself a grim smile. The Drachnids thought they were the hunters, but they'd forgotten something crucial about human history. We started as prey, then learned to turn the hunt against our pursuers. "Area, tactical analysis," she ordered. "Show me their blind spots." The A's response was immediate. Enemy formation optimized for maximum sensor coverage. However, their biological components require synchronization through quantum resonance. This creates a cyclical vulnerability lasting 2.3 seconds every 47 minutes. Too small a window, Rodriguez objected. "Even with the crystal drive, we can't." "We can," Chen interrupted. "Because they're not just hunting us. They're hurting us." She turned to her communications officer. "Miss Patel, status of the emergency beacon." "Ready, Commander." The Luminarix frequencies are encoded exactly as planned. One burst will reach every resistance cell in 3 sectors. Chen nodded. Everything was proceeding according to plan, though not the plan the Drachnids thought they were disrupting. She opened a channel to all hands. "This is the Commander. For 6 months, we've been the ghost that haunts the collective. We've struck their convoys, freed their prisoners, and shown the galaxy that they can be fought. Now they think they've trapped us." She paused, letting the tension build. "It's time to show them why cornering a human is always a mistake." Battle stations. The Valiant's crew moved with practiced efficiency, each member understanding their role in what was about to happen. The ship's integrated crystal matrix hummed with power, quantum energy merging with human technology in ways that defied conventional physics. "Enemy fleet advancing," Rodriguez reported. "They're charging their main weapons." "Let them come," Chen said quietly. "ARIA begin countdown to their next synchronization window. Chief O'Reilly, divert all power to the graviton lance. Dr. Tanaka, prepare to broadcast the quantum virus through their resonance frequency." The massive Drachnid fleet drew closer, their organic ships moving with predatory grace. Energy readings spiked as they prepared to unleash a barrage that would overwhelm even the Valiant's enhanced shields. "Synchronization in 10 seconds," Araya announced. 9, 8. Chen waited until the last possible moment. "Now, Ms. Patel, send the signal." The emergency beacon activated, broadcasting on frequencies that penetrated quantum space itself. Across 3 sectors, resistance cells received their long-awaited signal. But more importantly, the Drachnid fleet detected the transmission and moved to block it exactly as predicted. "Their formations shifting," Rodriguez called out. "They're trying to contain the broadcast." "Got you," Chen whispered. "Araya, execute attack pattern Omega. Full power to all weapons." The Valiant spun on its axis, its crystalline enhanced systems moving faster than any human ship had ever managed. The graviton lance fired just as the Drachnid fleet entered their synchronization window, the beam splitting into multiple streams through the quantum crystal array. The effect was devastating. The Drachnid ship's biological components, briefly unified through quantum resonance, experienced the graviton weapon's effects simultaneously. Massive dreadnoughts twisted and shuddered, their organic technology fighting against itself. Direct hits on 12 targets, Rodriguez reported, unable to keep the awe from his voice. Their formations breaking up. Quantum virus penetrating their command networks, Tanaka added. Their biological systems are going haywire. They can't maintain fleet cohesion. Chen watched as the mighty pursuit fleet dissolved into chaos. Ships collided, weapons fired randomly, and the sophisticated coordination that made the collective so powerful completely collapse. "Signal confirmed received by all resistance cells," Patel announced. "The uprising has begun." Across 3 sectors of space, hundreds of ships emerged from hiding. Resistance forces that had been preparing for months launched simultaneous attacks on Drachnid installations. The Hunter fleet, assembled to trap a single human vessel, now found itself caught between the Valiant's attack and a rising tide of rebellion. "Commander," O'Reilly called out, "the crystal matrix is stabilizing. We can make 2 more jumps at full power." Plot a course through their formation, Chen ordered. Target their flagship. Let's give the resistance forces a clear shot at the rest. The Valiant dove into the heart of the disintegrating Drachnid fleet, its weapons striking with surgical precision. The Graviton Lance, enhanced by quantum crystal technology, tore the massive flagship apart from the inside out. As the battle raged, Chen allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. The Drachnids had thought they were forcing a confrontation. Instead, they'd fallen into a trap months in the making. Their greatest fleet would become the symbol of their vulnerability and the beginning of their end. Incoming transmissions from resistance vessels, Paddle reported. They're engaging the remaining Drachnid ships. Several are already surrendering. Send them our coordinates for the rendezvous point, Chen replied. And prepare a message for Administrator Xenix. Tell him Phase 1 is complete. She turned to her crew, seeing the same fierce pride in their eyes that she felt. Ladies and gentlemen, we just turned the hunters into the hunted. Now let's finish what we started. The Valiant emerged from the battle scared but victorious, leaving behind the burning remnants of the Collective's pursuit fleet. But this was more than just another victory. It was the moment when a single ghost ship transformed into the spearhead of a galactic revolution. The hunt was over. The war for liberation had begun. The Drachnid command world of Nexus Prime filled the Valiant's view screen, its purple-tinged atmosphere swirling with artificial storms generated by the planet's biological defense grid. This was the heart of the Collective, where their empire had begun millennia ago. And today, it would face something it had never encountered, a force it couldn't adapt to. Status of the Resistance Fleet, Commander Chen asked, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. All ships in position, Paddle reported. Luminarix crystal ships, reformed Drachnid vessels, and every resistance fighter who could make it. Over 3,000 vessels, Commander. The largest fleet ever assembled against the Collective. Chen nodded, remembering how far they'd come from that first desperate battle at New Haven. The Valiant was no longer alone. Its success had inspired an uprising that spanned the galaxy. But this final assault would be the true test. New reading from the surface, Dr. Tanaka announced, her cybernetic eye pulsing with concern. They're activating something massive, the energy signature. It's like nothing we've ever seen. The surface of Nexus Prime seemed to ripple massive organic structures rising from beneath the clouds. The Drachnid's last line of defense. Their entire planet was transforming into a weapon. They're broadcasting, Paddle said, to every ship in the fleet. The voice that filled the bridge was a chorus of millions, the combined consciousness of the Drachnid leadership speaking as one. You dare challenge us at the source of our power. We are the Collective. We are evolution itself. Your resistance is. Chen cut the transmission with a gesture. I think we've all heard enough of that speech. ARIA, begin the attack sequence. All ships, commence Operation Daybreak. The Resistance Fleet moved as one, thousands of ships advancing on the Drachnid homeworld. But the Collective had prepared for this moment. The planet's surface erupted with defensive fire, while massive organic dreadnoughts emerged from hidden docks. They're throwing everything they have at us, Rodriguez reported. Multiple capital ships launching. Ground-based weapons charging. As expected, Chen replied calmly. They still think this is about overwhelming force. She opened a channel to the fleet. All ships, maintain formation. Remember your training. Today we show them why diversity is stronger than uniformity. The battle that followed would be studied in military academies across the galaxy for centuries to come. The Resistance Fleet, composed of dozens of species using different technologies and tactics, proved impossible for the Collective's biological systems to predict and counter. Crystalline Luminarix ships phased through Drachnid energy barriers. Reformed Drachnid vessels, their crews now free of the Collective's control, turned the enemy's own biological weapons against them. And at the center of it all, the Valiant led the charge, its hybrid technology representing everything the Collective feared. Adaptation through cooperation rather than assimilation. Their outer defenses are failing, Tanaka reported. But the planetary shield is still holding. We can't get through to the central control nexus. Chen studied the tactical display. The collective was falling back, concentrating all their power into a final defensive barrier around their command center. Breaking through would cost thousands of lives. Unless, Chief O'Reilly, she called out, what would happen if we channeled all power from the crystal matrix directly into the graviton lance? The engineer's eyes widened. The feedback would tear the ship apart. We'd never survive the discharge. But would it work? O'Reilly hesitated, then nodded. Aye, Commander. The quantum resonance would amplify the graviton effect exponentially. It would punch right through their shields, and probably crack the planet's crust in the process. Chen looked around the bridge at her crew, the finest beings she'd ever served with. They'd become more than just shipmates over these long months of fighting. They were family. I won't order anyone to, she began. With respect, Commander, Rodriguez interrupted. Save the speech. We all know what we signed up for. One by one, her crew nodded. Even AI's artificial voice carried determination as the AI announced, all systems ready for maximum power transfer. Chen smiled, feeling a fierce pride in her crew. Miss Patel, send word to the fleet. Tell them to fall back to minimum safe distance. Then broadcast one final message to the collective. Message ready, Commander. Tell them, evolution isn't about being the strongest. It's about being smart enough to work together. Humanity learned that lesson. Time for you to learn it too. The Valiant charged forward, its crystal matrix glowing with impossible energy. The graviton lance powered up one final time, quantum resonance turning the weapon into something that defied physics itself. Impact in 10 seconds, Rodriguez called out. 9, 8. Chen gripped her command chair. It's been an honor, everyone. Araya, initiate final sequence. Let's show them what humanity's light looks like. The Valiant's weapons fired, a beam of pure gravitational force enhanced by crystalline energy that cut through the Drachnid defenses like they didn't exist. The planetary shield shattered. The beam continued down, striking the massive organic control center that housed the collective's leadership. The feedback torn through the ship, systems overloading as the crystal matrix released its full power. But in those final moments, as alerts blared and the bridge sparked with dying systems, Commander Chen watched their victory unfold. The Drachnid control center collapsed in on itself, its biological components twisted beyond recovery by the graviton effect. Without the central consciousness to guide them, the collective's forces fell into confusion. And then, just before the Valiant's systems went critical, emergency transporters activated, a final gift from their Luminarix allies, programmed to trigger at the last possible moment. Chen opened her eyes to find herself and her crew safely aboard a crystal ship, watching as their beloved Valiant erupted in a blaze of light that would be visible across half the galaxy. Did we? She began. Direct hit, Administrator Zinix's voice confirmed. The collective's central consciousness is destroyed. Already their forces are surrendering across 20 sectors. Chen watched as the resistance fleet moved in to secure the Drachnid homeworld. Not to destroy or conquer, but to liberate. Already, ships were landing to help those Drachnids who had been enslaved by their own leadership. It's over, she said quietly. No, my friend, Zinix replied. It's just beginning. Your ship showed us all something we had forgotten, that the true strength of sentient beings lies not in domination, but in cooperation. The galaxy will need that wisdom as we rebuild. Chen looked at her crew, human, AI, and dozens of alien species all working together. They had done more than win a war. They had proven that humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy wasn't technology or tactics, but the simple truth that differences could become strengths when people chose to stand together. The ghost ship was gone, but its light would shine on, showing the way toward a future where diversity and unity were not opposites, but the key to evolution itself. That was humanity's true victory.